Welcome to another episode on Know Thyself. We have with us the experts, Father Michael Karumatum, who teaches sacred scriptures, a doctorate in the same, at the Mary Mata province. And also we have Sister Glorista, who's also a doctorate in counseling and training counselors. Welcome, Sister. Welcome, Father.
Thank you.
So, Father, as we continuing in these episodes, let's touch on the insights on how Jesus dealt with women, especially. And a specific case would be, I think, Mary Magdalene.
Okay.
We heard a lot about her. Some people don't even know who exactly she is. Some people just say she is this, she's that. But then if we can get a real good insight on this, it would be really nice.
Anand, I would like to pick up the threads where we left last time. Spoke about women in the Old Testament, women in the Bible, how it came about that women were considered of a second class as the source of temptation, the source of death, etc. But at the same time, we should not ignore that there are great women also in the Old Testament. We come to them at a later stage. For example, Sarah or Hagar, or for example, Ruth and Naomi, beautiful relationship. And you have the Esther, you have the Judith, three books on the name, with the name of woman, Ruth, Esther and Judith. So there are great women also in the Old Testament. But as a whole, the picture of the women was negative, and especially in the time of Jesus, generally the women were considered as a threat, as a degraded, as a slave. But then the attitude of Jesus is totally different from that of the contemporaries. As I said earlier, no rabbi would take a woman disciple. The women were not allowed to learn the Torah. They were not bound to observe all the negative, positive commandments, etc. And she was not allowed to talk, etc. Now, when you see Jesus' relationship, for example, the woman who had a hemorrhage, she comes and touches the fringes of his cloth, and she is healed. And then he exposes her to the public. She is afraid, but then he tells, your faith has saved you. Go. She is made as an example. For example, the woman with a hunchbacked woman who could not stand straight, and is an example of womanhood as a whole. A woman carrying all the burden of oppression on her back that she cannot look straight. So Jesus calls her to the front, touches on her and heals her, and she stands straight and shouts praises. So that's how Jesus is liberating people. And more so with the disciples, the women disciples, we have already seen some of them who had been following. Of all these women disciples of Jesus, I think Mary Magdalene is the most important one. And probably the most misunderstood person.
Exactly.
For example, as a whole, we consider Mary Magdalene as a symbol, a model of repentance, a penitent sinner. A person who was a prostitute, and then she was converted and she turned an ardent disciple of Jesus. But there is no guarantee for that. There is no proof of that in the Bible. All that the Bible speaks about Mary Magdalene is that 7 demons had gone out of her. She had been, maybe sister will be able to explain what this demonic possession and exorcism means. But then we see Mary Magdalene more powerfully in the Gospel of John. And also in the other Gospels, the Synoptic Gospels, they present Mary Magdalene at the foot of the cross. She is mentioned first among the disciples who stood at the foot of the cross. And don't think it was easy for a woman to stand. It's not dangerous. No. A person who was condemned by the Roman court, tried and found guilty. They say not guilty, but the guilt was put on the top of the cross. Jesus Nazarenus Rex Judaeorum, INRI. Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. And he was condemned to death, to crucifixion, because he was considered as a rebel, a revolutionary. And the two people crucified on either side, they are not robbers. The Bible calls them lestes. Lestes can mean a robber, but it can be a highway robber, it can be a revolutionary, a rebel. So, for example, the one who was put side by side with Jesus on trial for a popular trial is called Barabbas. Barabbas was not a robber, he was a criminal for the Romans. He was a revolutionary, a freedom fighter, a zealot. So the same thing with the two people on either side. So to stand at the foot of this contempt criminal and recognize him, acknowledge him as the leader and friend, it was not a easy task for a woman. She also could have been punished. Why did the male disciples all run away? They were afraid. And here these women, they stand, not without any threat. They stand in spite of it. They don't care what happens to us. This is our master, this is my Lord, and I stay. So Mary was there, Mary Magdalene was there, So this is Mary Magdalene. So first the misinterpretation, I think I will focus on that, maybe we need another episode. The misinterpretation or a misunderstanding about Mary Magdalene came through the story. I don't know exactly what the reasons, maybe something can be explained later. 4 women have been put in one. For example, Mary Magdalene, she is from Magdala. Magdalene means the person from Magdala. Magdala is a town near Tiberias. That is on the shore of Lake Tiberias, about 2 kilometers away from Tiberias. This is a Magdala. And Magdala, the word Magdala comes from the word Migdol. Migdol is a chimney where the smoke goes up. So they had a fish processing village there. And the fish processing causes the smoke and it goes out. So there's a Migdol. The town of Migdol is Magdala. And the person from Magdala is Mary Magdalene. But there was also a kind of misunderstanding or ill-reputed city, as many of the modern cities also. In the cities there is anonymity. And in the cities there are a lot of strangers coming in. And there is a lot of scope for prostitution. With brothels. Anywhere in Bombay or whatever city you have, acknowledged or not acknowledged private red light streets, red streets. So Magdala is considered such a person from Magdala is supposed to be a prostitute. So Mary also called Magdalene automatically should be considered. And from this goes on to Gospel of Luke. It's the only Gospel of Luke that she calls, that Mary also called Magdala. So that is in chapter 8. When you go to chapter 7 of Luke, there is a long scene described by Luke, a woman who was a public sinner, comes to Simon's house where Jesus sits at table, and she weeps at his feet, washes his feet with tears and anoints his feet and wipes with the air and kisses. And this man gets disturbed. Then Pharisee thinks, well, if this man was a prophet, he would have known what kind of woman this is. She is a sinner. And then Jesus goes on to say the story. I don't go into the details. So this woman is considered as the Magdalene, Mary Magdalene. But who is this? So imagination of people, and that is very common in the apocryphal literature. So the Gospels do not usually reveal much personal details. For example, who was the one who hit Jesus on the side, pierced the side with a lance? It's a soldier. But then the story later said he's called Longinus. Longinus is the name. And he was one eye blind. So when Longinus hit the side of Jesus, and from the pierced side came water and blood, fell on his eyes, and he got his eyesight. But this is all story. You know where the Longinus come from? It comes from lunge. Lunge is what in Greek, the spear. So Longinus means the spearman. So this is how they are. Or, for example, the Gospel of Matthew, the Magi. They are called only wise men from the east. But the tradition wanted to know exactly who they were, how many they were, where did they come from, etc. And the tradition comes up with the story. They were 3, and they were kings And they are called Melchior, Caspar, Balthasar. No guarantee whatsoever. There were three because the three offerings given. So this is all apocryphal details. In the same way, concerning this woman at the house of Pharisee, they invented stories. And the stories goes on, very interesting story. So Lazarus had a sister called Mary. Very attracted to Jesus. She was sitting at the feet of Jesus. She was a sister of Martha. This Mary had a story. She was in Bethany and she fell in with a Roman soldier, ran away, eloped. And they came to Magdala and settled there. After some time, the soldier got fed up with her and he went. So for making a living, she stayed there and worked as a prostitute. Then in those days, she cared about Jesus, and Jesus was sitting at the table with Simon. So she went and did all this work. So Jesus forgave her forgiveness and blessed her, and for some time she lived a good life. But then, the attraction of the last life, she abandoned Jesus and went to Jerusalem. And during some feast, she was caught in adultery. And then the people brought him to be stoned to death at Jerusalem, Jesus' feet. And then Jesus knew her, and she knew Jesus, and Jesus saved her once again. And then she finally went back and remained faithful. So 4 episodes, and the connecting link would be the house of Lazarus, the house of Simon, it is said, Simon the leper. Jesus was sitting, and the sister of Lazarus, Mary, came and anointed his feet. That is in John. So the anointing the feet is identifiable in the Gospel of Luke as well as in John. In the Gospel of John, there is done by the Mary of Bethany. In the Gospel of Luke, it is done by a sinner. So the identification comes here. So these 4 women are identified. And then the church, also somehow the church tradition kept it until the Second Vatican Council, where Pope Paul changed the reading for the feast, the Latin liturgy for the feast of the Mary Magdalene. Till then, for the feast of the Mary Magdalene, the gospel reading was from the Gospel of Luke, the anointing of Jesus by the sinner. Now they have changed it and changed it to the Gospel of John, where Mary Magdalene is the first person who sees Jesus, the risen Lord, and who is sent as an apostle to the apostles. So there is something relations, how Jesus deals with them. So this is the story of Magdalene. Maybe she still has something to add to it.
The misunderstanding about Mary Magdalene and came there. We have a sense of curiosity to answer all the details. And for that invent stories. And that is what I think. Because Gospels are very respectful to the people. We do not know who the adulterous woman who was caught in the sinner. We do not know who is the public sinner who came into the Pharisee's house. No names are given. It's only said a woman. That was a woman. And when people add stories like that, it distorts the facts. Okay, it is said that from Mary Magdalene, 7 demons have been cast out.
Right.
What are these demons? Nowhere it is said that it is adultery or it is a relationship with other people that is considered as demons.
But it's automatically taken like that. Just because,
But I think at that time, people believed that all the illness were caused by demons. And this casting out of demons is you become free of sin, like the mother-in-law of Peter.
Infirmity.
And Jesus came and cast out the demon and also the bent woman.
Yeah, in fact, this is a Peter's dog. Jesus rebuked the fever disease. Rebuked. So as if it's an exorcism. No?
And the bent woman, for 18 years she was bound by a Satan who was there.
Exactly.
And those days it was the belief that whatever illness you have, it was these evil spirits who caused it. So she might have had various illnesses or allergies or anything she had. Anyway, she was cured from that. One thing about Mary Magdalene I see is that once she saw Jesus, never a turning back. Followed him and the passionate love she had for Jesus. It's a call up, it's supernatural, whatever it is. Anyway, for her, nothing mattered in her life than Jesus. And that is that undivided love. And she could do that. And also, I think in the Bible it is true, to be known by the name of a place. She must have been a very important woman, and a woman who had a lot of means to be known as a Mary of Magdala. But all that she placed it at the feet of Jesus. And that is where she found meaning. And this is one of the qualities I talked about women in that sense, the capacity to love all that you are and all that you have to the person you love. And that love is the strength she had in that sense. And we can see Mary Magdalene and the other women. I mean, it is put collectively in the sense from whom Jesus had cast out devils. And Mary was pointed out even more. And one thing is true, because she was cured of more illness, she loved more.
Absolutely.
And that was really, and this is where I see the power in the sense that she forget herself, even to walk to the foot of the cross. And another thing I see is that usually mothers are jealous of women who loves their sons. But Mary accepted Mary Magdalene. And I think Sefreli put it beautifully. As she came to come to the cross, and the soldiers asked, "Are you one of the family?" She said yes. Then they turned to Mary and asked, "Is she?" And the Blessed Mother said yes.
Wow.
And somehow she accepted. She accepted this woman who loved Jesus and followed her. And her following in the sense was so strong that we never see her saying anything. But the presence was there all the time. And in one place I read that even her presence was consoling to Jesus. Even the disciples asked questions, who is he, what is he doing, and all these things, she never says anything, but she was there. And so that presence, to love expressed without words, the love expressed through silence has a lot of power in that sense. I think that's what Mary Magdalene did. And possession, what was possession, I do not know. And the Gospels doesn't say. I don't want to imagine either. Nowhere it is said what kind of devils were cast out of her. One thing we can be sure that she was suffering from something, some imprisonment or some block in that sense. Jesus removed that.
Yeah.
And we can see this in people even when they are on the process of growth. Then if we can remove the block that is there, and the person blossoms. And this blossoming is really a reward in that sense. When I have dealt with the people, I have seen when they come, they're struggling with some issues, you deal with issues, help them to see their part in there, and when that issue is removed, it's like a flower blossoming, they blossom there. And that's what I see about Mary Magdalene.
Could it be like something like what they call you take the block?
Walk away.
So sometimes today also they speak about block, Satan or demon blocking. So maybe many kind of psychological illnesses are considered today as, especially in some circles, as possession. And maybe you could say something about this.
Yeah, but very common depression itself is a
And
very
I think when you were reading the Gospel, today it struck me in that sense. The demons were cast out. I think the greatest demon was inferiority complex. These women were really possessed with inferiority complex because the society does not accept them, society does not value them, and they feel we are something less.
It's still prevalent, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
But Jesus removed that.
Could you also say perhaps some other demons that are being possessing? Because we had some counseling course, and you used to present some of the demons, what we call demons, the psychological blocks that many people consider
Even
as
from a
demons.
basic root of what is demon? Why do we say that?
No, not exactly demons. I mean,
See,
there's a-
inferiority complex is a great demon in that sense. It does not allow me to stand anywhere to face to a person. It possesses me to a point that I am no good. To move from I am no good, I am good is a really a great
Transition,
movement in that
beautiful.
sense. It's a lot of power in that sense. Then the feeling that looking for approval from another person. That is also in the sense of psychologically it says that no one can dominate you unless you put yourself under that person.
Exactly.
So it's like in the imprisonment you say that they can prison my body but not my mind.
True, very true.
And that is a freedom in that sense. I have seen this happening in people in that sense. When they feel I am no good, I am dirty, I have no capacity, I have no strength, and you remove the block in that sense, and immediately they find themselves worthy of something.
True, very true.
And personal worth. And then the kind of feeling that you don't have any capacity, the strength. And when you feel that I am incapacitated, you have no capacity, and you can remove that. So all these
the
kind
guilt
of
feeling, for example. There's one is the guilt
Guilt feeling,
feeling.
yeah.
That makes you
guilt
always...
feeling, all that. I did something wrong, why this happened, all this also leads to add to this inferiority complex.
Wow.
And the guilt
arrogance on the other side.
And so when it comes when another person treat me, and you feel like I am dirt, I deserve to be dirt. We have a saying in the sense, if you lie on the floor, people walk all over you. Okay? And you stand up. In the process, in the counseling process, what we used to do is that if somebody comes, oh, I'm no good, you empower them, stand up, then I can fight with you. Not lie down there on the floor there. So some people do that. You can hear it being said, I'm no good, I don't have any capacity, nobody can love me, or those kind of. And there's like a guilt feeling, inferiority feeling, the emotions, and not using the talents you have, denying the talents we have. And here I think Mary is a great example in that sense. The Lord has done great things to me. That means I am nothing, but the Lord can do great things through me.
Super.
Even Paul said, in my weakness, God can work. This is all building up confidence. A lack of confidence is really a big problem in that sense. And when you have not confidence, even the things I can do, I will not do. So all these things have been removed from these women. I think that is Jesus' acceptance had a great power in that sense.
So I have a question, collectively from me and as well as people. How do we look at a character like Mary Magdalene? How do you, because there's a lot of stories said. So the moment I hear that, how do I look at them? What do I say?
Hey, look, I have written a book, Women in the New Testament.
Beautiful.
And this Magdalene is a character in that. And I have to explain the whole thing. So this is only the first part of Mary Magdalene, the negative, that she was possessed by demons and she had been liberated. But then when you come to the Gospel of John, you see a totally different person. As I said, a person who stands at the foot of the cross. Come what may, I am here. I am going to desert. The disciples all had gone. And then they buried him. And the next day, when the Sabbath is over, Mary Magdalene comes to the tomb. Many come, and Mary Magdalene is presented first. The tomb is empty. The tomb is empty, and people wonder. And Mary Magdalene runs to the disciples in their hiding place where they are hiding and said, they have stolen the master. So immediately Peter and John, they come and see the tomb is empty. Peter enters, nothing. He goes out and John enters and sees both of them gone. Nothing. But Mary sticks. She doesn't go. That's what John said.
Right.
And she stands there crying. And again, through their tears, he sees somebody in the tomb. And they ask angels, "Woman, why are you weeping? They have stolen my master." It doesn't say they have stolen the body of my master. They have stolen my master. And saying that, she turns back and she sees a man standing there, thinking that he is the gardener. "Mister, if you have stolen my master, tell me where it is. I'll take him." So this is a person who doesn't want to leave Jesus. Dead or alive, I want to have him. So this is as history is studying, it's a passion that comes out of love.
Right.
He doesn't want anything, only to be with. And then he calls her by name Mary, something special in that voice, and she clings to her feet. "My God, you are here. I won't let you go." That is the attachment. Then Jesus says, "You cannot have me anymore physically, but I'll be with you." So now what you have seen is only an appearance. The real me will be with you. But you cannot see me physically, you cannot touch me. But go and tell my disciples, the Peter who melted like wax, and there was all the disciples who ran away, go and tell them that I have risen. So Mary becomes the apostle of the apostles. So I would say, from this perspective, the Gospel of John, Mary is the first and most important disciple of the group, even more than Peter, more than John, the beloved disciple. She is the one who takes the risk. She is the one who stands there. She is the one who goes and announces. She is the one who sees first.
Right.
So what else do you want? And then this Magdalene becomes the apostle of France. So Mary, the Magdalene is very important person in the history of church in France. So Mary Magdalene is one of the most important leading figures of the early church, but who made her a sinner? That's later tradition. Maybe a competition in the mind of the primitive Christians. So she should not be bigger than Peter or John. So then made her into a repentant sinner. But now the church has reinstated. Not that she becomes Peter or she becomes the foundation, but she becomes the model of love, attachment, dedication, total commitment to a person, even risking her life. That is Mary Magdalene.
For me, Mary is a person. Once she found the truth, she followed it to the end of her life, never turning back. And it was done with a deep conviction.
So that is beautiful to understand, that when you know the Lord, you stick to Him. What a character she has been. We will learn more about her and also other characters through this program. Till we meet you in another episode, God bless you. If you have any questions, please write to us on knowthyselfdtv@gmail.com. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Sister.